I request all the delegates to please take their seats. Shall we begin? Okay. Karagre vaste Lakshmi, Karmadhye Saraswati, Karmule Sthita Gauri, Mangalam Kardarshanam. Good morning, everyone. I once again welcome all of you to the second day of the second National Conference of Corporate CS. Friends, each technical session of this two-day conference has been chosen to align with one main theme of the conference: Corporate CS Navigating New Challenges. Continuing in the same spirit, let's begin our third technical session on the topic CS as Independent Director, Building Exceptional Leaders. And to guide our way, I would request our panelists for the day to please come on stage. CSS Sudhakar, Vice President, Corporate Secretarial, Reliance Industries Limited. Mr. Dr. Madhu Vij, Council Member, Government Nominee, ICSI. And I would request CS Ranjit Pandey, Council Member and Past President, ICSI, to accompany them. Our panelist, Mr. Dilip Ganeriwal, Managing Director, Des Technologies Private Limited, will be joining us virtually. We welcome you, sir. Before moving ahead, I would like to take this opportunity to introduce our esteemed panelists. CSS Sudhakar, Vice President, Corporate Secretarial, Reliance Industries, is a fellow member of the ICAI, ICSI, and a qualified secretary of the Institute of Chartered Secretaries at Administrators UK, and holds an experience of 3.5 decades. A member of the Secretarial Standards Committee, SSB, and Vision Core Group of the ICSI, he is also a member of the Corporate Affairs Committee of PhD Chambers of Commerce and Industry since 2017. A regular faculty at the Institute of Directors and guest faculty at institutions like the NISM and ICLS Academy, CS Sudhakar has addressed approximately 750 plus workshops, seminars, conferences, and training programs, and has contributed several articles to professional journals and financial newspapers. We welcome you, sir. Our next guest for today, Dr. Madhu Vij, Council Member, the ICSI, our government nominee, a professor of finance at the Faculty of Management Studies, University of Delhi, with an experience totaling to 3 decades. Her professional and teaching interests include international finance, risk management, banking and financial services, corporate finance, and accounting. An independent director of MOIL Limited, and along with 4 private limited companies, government nominee to the Central Council of ICSI, Dr. Madhu Vij has received the Alumni Excellence Award from Sri Ram College of Commerce, University of Delhi. Dr. Vij participated and attended the Global Colloquium on Participant-Centered Learning at Harvard Business School, Boston, USA, and has completed a number of projects sanctioned by national bodies like UGC, RBI, SAIL, and Delhi University. We welcome you, ma'am. Our next guest, who has joined us virtually, Mr. Dilip Ganeriwal, a BTech from IIT Bombay, founder and managing director, Des Technologies Private Limited. Mr. Ganeriwal is well renowned for his passion about building tools which enable systems and processes for governance and efficiency. Before founding DES, Mr. Dilip served as product manager with Digital Equipment Corporation, Massachusetts, USA. A winner of several fellowships, including Ambassadorial Fellowship for International Understanding by Rotary International, he has been the chairman of the Computer Society of India. He has also worked as the president, Cosmopolitan Club, University of Delaware, USA. We welcome you, sir. Our own panelist, CS Ranjit Pandey, council member and past president, the ICSI. A fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and a law graduate from University of Delhi, CS Pandey has served as the president ICSI in the year 2019 and the Vice President of Corporate Secretaries International Association Limited, CSIA, in the year 2020. A practicing company secretary, having over 17 years of experience in the field of corporate and commercial laws, he is an insolvency professional registered with the IBBI, a prominent advisor in the areas of governance, corporate restructuring, and insolvency and bankruptcy. Currently chairing the Corporate Laws and Governance Committee of the ICSI, CS Ranjit Pandey is also an ex officio member of the Primary Market Advisory Committee of SEBI and has served as the member of the Working Committee of MCA. We welcome you, sir. Before moving ahead with the discussions, I would request CS Ranjit Pandey, our panelist and moderator for the day, to present the Angvastram and planter to our esteemed guests. CS Sudhakar. Dr. Madhu Vij. And while we will not be presenting the Angvastram and planter to Dilip sir, we welcome you, sir, to the session. With this, I request CS Ranjit Pandey to open the house.
Thank you so much. I welcome all the three panelists to this technical session. Good morning, all the members present here in the physical mode and all the members present virtually. And it's heartening to know that, of course, we are witnessing second National Corporate CS here in Delhi. First one we have did in Mumbai, and it was a grand success. And in fact, during the difficult time, this is also the kind of participation we have received here. It's excellent, and 2,500 virtual participation is another great example of, say, hybrid conference. So my compliments to President ICSI, Vice President ICSI, and particularly Mr. Manish Gupta, Council Member and Program Director for this National Corporate CS. Topic assigned to us today is CS as Independent Director, Building Exceptional Leader. I think before opening the house for the discussion or panel discussion, I will request Mr. S. Sudhakar, first of all, to kindly give the overview in regard to, say, role and responsibility of independent director and how independent director shaping the governance culture in the, say, boards of Indian INC. Mr. Sudhakar, first of all, you start, and thereafter we will open up.
Thank you, Mr. Ranjit Pandey. Good morning, friends. At the outset, my sincere thanks and gratitude to ICSI for giving me this opportunity to share, to be a panelist for this panel discussion. I also congratulate ICSI for initiating the Corporate Secretaries Conference. This is the second one, and I am privileged to address both these conferences, last year in Bombay and this year at Delhi. It was a long cherished desire of the company secretaries in employment that when there is a PCS conference, why not for the corporate secretaries in employment? That desire also has been fulfilled by ICSI. Now, coming to the concept of independent directors, as we all know that the erstwhile clause 49, it was introduced, this concept of independent directors, to the Indian corporate sector by way of this erstwhile listing agreement. And after that, that was confined to only listed companies, and Companies Act 2013 for the first time introduced this concept for other than the listed companies also. There is a separate class of companies who also have to appoint the independent directors. And the tenure of these independent directors is 2 terms of 5 years each. And the tenure of the independent directors prior to 1st April 2014 was not included, unlike auditors where it was included. For independent directors, it was not so. There was a lot of criticism has come that point of time that how can a director who is on the boards of the companies for 20 years, 30 years, and he is qualified to be an independent director. In fact, several big corporates also are having independent directors who are associated with the companies for over 20, 25 years also. And our company is no exception to that. At that point of time, I have been questioned that what is your view on this? I always say that, no doubt about it, sometimes we may feel that the spirit of the law is important, but provisions of the law is first and then comes the question of spirit. Apart from that thing, that independence according to me is a perception. A person who is associated with the company for 25 years also can be an independent director, and a person who is associated only about a year before, he may not be an independent director also. According to me, the person who is having long association with the company, he will have more confidence, courage to stand up and call what a spade a spade. It is not necessary the moment long association is there, he will compromise with the things. It all depends upon the individual, how much independent he is. So that's why the long association should not be a barrier as far as I am concerned. At the same point of time, another big question has come up is that the remuneration of independent directors. Obviously, the stock options were not allowed to be given to them. And what the independent director's entitlement is only a commission or the sitting fees. Commission provided there is a profits are there, because it is the profit linked commission. So profits are there, they will be paid, otherwise no. Several times when I go as a faculty for Institute of Directors, I used to be asked this question that when there is no remuneration, what for we have to work for? And why people work without any remuneration? That is a big question. Fortunately, that has been addressed in the Companies Amendment Act 2020. Even the non-executive directors also are entitled for remuneration, despite the fact the company is not having the profits or inadequacy of profits. Over a period of time, it so happened that the regulator started treating the independent director as a superhuman being. The kind of stringency what is being brought in day out by amending the definition of independent directors. And similarly, if you see the Companies Act or the listing regulations, the kind of responsibilities what an independent director has been entrusted upon. The director I always advise the directors that don't take this profession as a vocation. In the good olden days, what used to happen was the celebrities, the retired bureaucrats, they used to take the directorship as a vocation. Those days have gone now. The company cannot have, and a director cannot act as an ornamental director. They have to take this as a serious profession if at all you are becoming a director. In fact, despite the fact I am a qualified chartered accountant and company secretary, if I have been offered an independent directorship in any company, I will think, if not more, at least 10-15 times before accepting that. Because the kind of responsibilities what are there, the kind of accountabilities what are there, it is mind-boggling. Then question comes that fortunately or unfortunately, the independent director, he has to always establish that he is independent to that of the promoters. Sometimes I feel that the kind of stringency what is being brought in, the independent director has been virtually taken as a police officer kind of thing as far as the promoter is concerned. He has to keep a check on the promoter or the major shareholders of the companies. Why we have to, in fact, according to me, the promoters are to be trusted for whatever the reasons it is. The trust on the promoters is not there. That's why the independent director role is becoming day by day, the regulator is increasing it. In fact, instead of respecting the promoter, we are suspecting the promoter. And say, for example, if we take the related party transactions, the audit committee, the related party transactions are to be approved only by the independent directors. The question comes that an independent director, whatever the idea he may have about the related party transaction based on the information furnished to him, if you say that you are the only person who will be approving the related party transaction, which is will come under scrutiny definitely tomorrow. Will he be able to take that decision boldly? It's a big question mark. Similarly, what is the independent directors are expected? They have to bring value to the board with their diversified and cross-functional professional skills and all. They're expected to be the guardians. They're expected to protect the minority shareholders' interest and all those things. Then the question comes that he is to maintain the independence at any point of time from the promoters. In fact, Warren Buffett has said that you are expected the person to sing a song which the promoter has not taught to you, but he is the person who is virtually your music director kind of thing. That means the person who has been appointed you have to act against him. You have to not act together with him. So according to Warren Buffett, the independent director is not at all a concept. No. He said there is no independent director concept as such, which is an extreme view according to me. But having said that, really can a person who has been definitely, whether we like it or not, he has been appointed by the promoter, founder, majority shareholder, whomever you may call it, he has been appointed by that. Does that mean the independent director will always act as per the tunes of the promoter, or he will act against the promoter? The answer can go both the ways. If I know my role very well, despite the fact I have been appointed by the promoter, but still, if I have to act against him, I will act against him only. If I have to act in line with him, I will do like that. Not necessarily he has been appointed, because if a promoter is appointing an independent director, he is not doing a charity. Because that definitely by the appointment of that independent director, the company is getting benefited because of his experience, because of his maturity, and so many other things. So independent directors need not be obliged because of by mere his appointment. And independent directors have to withstand the kind of pressures and pulls. What they have to do is, suppose if I have been offered an independent directorship or you have been offered an independent directorship, what we have to do it? First and foremost thing is that the moment an offer comes, whatever the company it may be, big, what's called a large or small, whatever it is. First of all, I need to undertake the due diligence of the company as well as the board of the company also. Mostly people say that you have to take the due diligence of the company only, because the company may be good, but I am going to sit with the other board members. Whether my compatibility will be there with them or not, that is very, very important for me. Apart from that thing, I have to ensure that a proper induction program should be there. Of course, now it has been made mandatory, but it is the responsibility of the independent director to ensure that proper induction is there. He should be inquisitive enough to understand the business, to understand the industry in which it operates, the national as well as international scenario of that particular products, the product, the process of the manufacturing, so many things. Unless until he got the complete understanding of the business of the company, he will not be able to deliver what he is supposed to deliver.
Sir, एक minute में और
Yeah, please.
एक minute और
Okay, yeah, I will close it. The second aspect is that what is expected from him, because whenever an independent director has been offered, it is not a free lunch, nowhere it is there. So the independent director has to understand very clearly what is expected from him. Suppose if I am a retired banker and I have been offered an independent directorship, then definitely the company is having some kind of expectation from me. What are those expectations? What are the deliverables? Am I in a position going to deliver those things? These are a few things I need to understand that. These are the fundamental things. Apart from that thing, we should also ensure that what kind of the legacy issues, if any, are there, how the legacy issues or the baggage is going to affect me tomorrow. If it is going to affect me, am I got insulated from that? That also I need to see that. These are a few issues which are coming to me at this point of time, and over the panel discussion, we may discuss it further. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudhakar ji, for giving the overview in regard to provisions and role of the independent directors, and also I think throwing the discussion open for the say risk associated with the position of independent directors. And in fact, you said that even being the chartered accountant or company secretary, I will be thinking 10 times before becoming the independent director of a company. So that kind of say serious and important role this is, and every professional like us understand this. So taking this discussion forward, and in fact, Madam Madhu Bij is here, and she is into say boards of several company, uh, independent director, women director, and say one of the empowered women. Uh, we always invite her in the Women Day celebrations also. So for a lot of young ladies, she is the role model. Madam, you, I think opening remarks from your side will be assigned, or in fact, should be dedicated to the role of the women directors on the boards of Indian company, or particularly women independent directors, how a professional like company secretary, chartered accountant, they should take up the role of the independent director. So for your opening remarks, ma'am, please.
Thank you, Ranjit ji, and thank you, Manish. Thank you to all the participants here, my fellow panelists. It's a complete delight, a pleasure, and I'm honored to be here. Yes, Ranjit ji is right. Over the course of my journey, I don't know whether I've become empowered or not, but I do take women issues very seriously. So I think that's the role I have, and I do want to carry this forward also. Coming to women independent directors, let me start by saying that I think probably this is the last sign of the male domination. So, and the push to appoint women directors has brought diversity to an all boys club, as it was being said. And but for regulation, this would not have been possible. So, when I go back and look at my appointment, I do find that I probably feel my first appointment as a women independent director was with MOIL. And probably that did not expose me to the realities of a women independent director. Because MOIL was a mini Ratna public sector company. And a public sector company operates on a very different fashion. But let me also say that, fortunately, the experiences which I've had in the various companies where I am on board has been a mixed bag. So it's not always positive. And I completely echo Ranjit's statement that, with all your background and qualification, you need to be wary of the company you join as an independent director. In fact, this is an interesting trend to promote diversity. And, I do remember when I joined as an independent director, there were some, questions from, some agencies, and there were one question which was a little more favorite to them was, do you find this experience intimidating? I said, not really. Because it can get intimidating sometimes. If you are in a company where the MD and the chairperson or, the entire set of members are socializing maybe in the evening, and you're definitely not a part of it. But I would say the experience has not been intimidating. Why? Because if I would like to believe, and I would like to give that message also to my young women here, that when you join a board, it's mainly because of the kind of expertise you bring to the board. Yes, there is a regulation because of which you have got an entry. there is a networking also because of which you have gotten entry. So even in the companies where I am, there has to be a little connection. Somebody knows somebody and somebody knows somebody, and that is how, okay, you do get an opportunity. But the fact remains that when I'm on a board or when other women independent directors, I mean, if you have seen, there are lots of very, very famous women who are at the top and who are a part of the board. We all react in our capacity as a professional. So, appointing women independent directors does bring diversity. But when it is a question of reacting, and when it's a question of, taking forward some issues, our thought is only the expertise we bring in. So if I talk about my case, when there's an issue, I would react as a finance professional. My background in terms of a banking or an international finance, or let's say a behavioral finance. So at that point, you're not reacting as a women independent director. So that is one kind of message, let me tell you. So all of you need to think, you are at an equal platform. And maybe I have very different views on this. Yes, you do need a little help when it is a question of entry. But after that, you are there or not there on your own merit. So you will not be there if you are not performing. Okay. The other perspective I like to bring here is the diversity perspective. It's a fact that all of us think differently. And there's a little thinking difference in terms of gender also. So, I don't want to annoy my audience here, which, we are in a little minority here. But there's a little autocratic style. There's a little authoritarian style. And having said that, let me say Ranjit or Ashish or our president here, they're completely participative. So that's my experience in ICSI also. So generally it is said that men are a little more authoritative. And there are exceptions, and I've pointed out the exceptions also. I think, that's the different perspective also which we are talking about, So it's about a collaborative kind of a decision which you take. And in one or two companies, where I am, I find that when you interact as a women independent director, maybe some of the younger colleagues, they are not intimidated, and you can, or maybe they can get their point across to you. So I think, that is another perspective one looks for. I also feel that once you are there in various roles, it's important to ensure that, you encourage women to be a part of some important functions. So let us also think of moving them away from a typical HR or to other not so decision-oriented roles to finance or to other decision-oriented roles wherein, it gives them an opportunity to step up. Let me know when there's 1 minute left. Okay, yeah. So, to step up. And I think that's the kind of learning, one has got in various companies where one has been there. So, cross-functional thinking, diversity is one perspective, I would say, which, this regulation has brought in. The other issue which always comes up is, is the appointment of women independent director just a tick in the box? So there is a regulatory requirement, so we have a women independent director. And the answer, and a true answer to this, would be both a yes and a no. So a lot of companies would appoint you simply because it is a mandatory requirement. But I would like to believe that not always so. Okay. And it's mainly because of, as I said, a different perspective you bring to the table. So the point is, when we talk about, is it just a tick in the boxes? And there is a general perception which also goes around is, women are not as ambitious as men. I would like to disagree with this. And all women independent directors or all women at the top would like to disagree with this. We are ambitious, but we are ambitious in a different way. And, there are stages in the life of a woman, and this is especially to young women, which I would say. Yes, there is a difference, there's a gender difference, I don't want to go into that. But yes, there is a time period in your life, which could be from 25 to 35 or 30 to 40, where you take a back seat. But that should not mean that you take a back seat always. So it's like go and get it. And it's about how I do a management of my time. And I really don't like this term work-life balance. I really don't like it, because what do you mean by work-life balance? What's wrong if I work 24 or 37 also? 2 minutes. So there's no issue. Why can't we work 24/7 or much more than that? So let's not think of a work-life balance. Let's say these are my career formative years and I have to go about it. Maybe when Ranjit ji asks the question, I will talk about, how company secretaries could go a little more forward with this. And just one more issue before I close, is being the only women on boards a disadvantage? I would again say definitely not. It's only a way forward. It's not a disadvantage. It's how I mold myself and how, I perform my duties as an independent director. But thank you so much. And I do hope, this kind of discussion is taken forward at many forums. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Such a say enlightening words, and in fact, I would say that giving a complete different perspective. And in fact, I totally agree with you that yes, for a small period of 4-5 years, I may take the back seat, but that does not mean I should not be treated as ambitious. Yes, I am ambitious, and I also want to contribute to the corporate governance and corporate world. So, taken this clue from it, of course, I will throw up for the discussion later on. Our third panelist is already virtually present, and I will say that today, one of the most important thing is digitalization and digital and virtual meetings. And in fact, he is going to more talk about the digital thing, and that is why he is digitally present. So, so nowadays, board meetings, the role or connectivity of the board or independent directors or even all small committee meetings, all the meetings, it is being conducted through the virtual mode only. And people are started preferring the virtual mode. And of course, few people say that I want to attend physically. So it is becoming hybrid. So hybrid is also good, physical is also good, virtual is also good. So technology is going to play a very big role in the times to come. So our third panelist, Mr. Dilip Kaneriwal, he is from Desk Technology, and he will share the role of the independent director and usage of the digital technology in the by the independent directors and also particularly by the board. So Mr. Dilip, over to you. You have 8 to 9 minutes, and please wrap up within that time.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Ranjit, and thanks to the organizers. It's an honor to be here. I have come to believe that independent director, a CS qualified director is a necessity on every board. Let me explain that. In fact, and I have some, if there is no CS qualified person involved, the governance goes down drastically. So recently, I got appointed to a governing council of an institution, and I got agenda for upcoming meeting notice and the agenda. The agenda was there, but there were no supporting documents or notes with the agenda. And the meeting was scheduled for 75 minutes. So we had the meeting, and the coordinator of the meeting, the director of this institute, by the way, SS1 does not apply to them. Otherwise, it would have been a different story. But so the director made a presentation for about 60 minutes. It was a nice presentation. So the documents like minutes of previous meeting, action taken report, even financials were presented. There were no such documents shared upfront. And then, so about 10 minutes after these 60 minutes were gone, because some of us did not understand those documents, so we needed to get some clarification. So eventually, we actually had a meeting for only 5 minutes, from 70th minute to about 75th minute. And I'm sure if there was a CS qualified person involved even on the governing council, and in fact, I've got some exposure to company secretaries, and I also understand that matter now. But I realize that, and they don't even know that they are missing out. They're not even having meeting of minds. It's just for 5 minutes as opposed to potentially 75 minutes if agenda was distributed in advance with supporting documents. Committee members would have had chance to go through that, so they could really discuss for 75 minutes. So these are the kinds of things company secretaries understand, and they would impose that in their respective boards, for example. And they understand that notes and documents need to be shared in advance. They understand that circular resolution has to be responded to within a certain amount of time. For example, draft minutes need to be received. For example, here we are not even receiving any draft minutes so draft minutes need to be received within a certain period of time, and feedback, if any, needs to be given within 1 week. I'm just giving you some idea of how company secretaries are ready to be really effective independent directors. This is just one aspect to highlight that company secretaries are torchbearers of governance, and their presence on boards will make boards a whole lot more effective as far as governance is concerned. And so, in fact, we have as an organization learned a lot from company secretaries and provided, and by the way, a lot of existing independent directors tend to be very senior sometimes. They want technology to be too easy. So company secretaries are using these technologies to make it for independent directors, where these would run on all devices. For example, one can scribble on any document on any device. It can be a laptop or a iPad or an Android smartphone, and there is no easy navigation to any agenda. They don't have to flip pages, so they find it very, very easy to use. And this can be done way in advance. Anytime it can be updated, so that documents are available to directors in advance, and they can really deliberate during the meeting, for example. And also there are a lot of other things. On one little device, they get to vote on various resolutions. Feedback on draft minutes, final minutes are available. There is a full archive available wherein they can see past agenda papers, past minutes, past resolutions. To the extent, based on their tenure, it may or may not contain. It can be based on the company's policy. It may contain based on their tenure, based on the entire archive, or just till one meeting is over. They can vote online and get feedback real time on various votes. They can track action items if required, committee-wise. Board evaluation can be done online, where questions can be framed, evaluation of board, evaluation of committees, directors. This can be done in a very confidential and anonymous way, so that one can honestly give a feedback. A report can be made visible only to the relevant people. For example, So directors don't have to hesitate in giving real feedback. They can approve documents online, no need for printing, courier, scanning and all those things. So one can actually sign documents, approve any kind of document. So a lot of company secretaries who have used this for independent directors have been torch bearers of governance, and taking that cue, a lot of other departments we have noticed have started using this type of conducting meetings where agenda is necessarily available prior to meetings, for example. And all that is being enabled by companies using this type of tool, and they're just doing it it's incredible how effectively they are doing it. And in fact, a lot of other processes are also being deployed, like internal approval of documents now being used for various other committees like credit committees or procurement. And so one can extend this, and company secretaries have taken lead in setting up the governance. A lot of our users have taken that lead, where not only for board and committees, the rest of the organization has adopted this process to go totally digital, to go highly governed, very effectively governed. And of course there are a few other technologies which are coming up, which I feel aspiring company secretaries, aspiring independent directors should be aware of. And we are also as an organization always trying, but say for example holistic content management, where now the recording of the recordings of videos tend to be very large files, so they have to be managed very appropriately. Searching through content-based search through recordings, for example, is becoming an expectation. In future, perhaps the agenda itself will become audio-visual, because we are all becoming lazy and we don't have patience to read, and so it will be audio-visual. And to manage all that, data analytics, independent directors have to point out red flags in while approving financials or related party transactions. So those company secretaries who are aware of such analytical tool, and they'll be in a position to really contribute to even more effective governance. Virtual reality, robotic, RPA. This is really process improvement, AI and machine learning. So don't go by the buzzwords. These are a lot of terminology, but the main thing is to solve problems. And of course, we always say the technology is meant to solve problems. It has to be simple, easy. It has to solve problems. And we have been very fortunate to get a lot of good feedback in building governance
Dilipji, 2
tools.
minutes more. Dilipji, 2 minutes more.
I'm done. So sir, we will allow you to interact with us, and we can develop the technologies, governance, and the nation together, where the focus has to be on solving problems in simple way, effective way. And we look forward to interacting with company secretaries. And in short, I want company secretaries to believe they would make ideal independent directors. Certainly, domain knowledge is something which will depend from company to company. But other than that, they seem to be very ready. On some financial aspects also, they can brush up in case they are not very much involved. So this is based on this thing about how company secretaries can become so this is my view, and we would love to work with company secretaries to evolve these technologies for better governance and building the nation together. Thank you, sir. We can discuss during the
Thank you, Dilipji.
panel.
Thank you, Dilipji. So before moving forward on the say question answer part or more of a discussion part, I think we need to understand that as Sudhakar ji has mentioned, that due diligence is very, very important. And in fact, during the say setting of the panel, I have been assigned that something I should speak about this. So I think I will say that due diligence should not be done only by the independent directors. I think selection of the independent director is also very, very important and crucial for any corporate. And the way nowadays selections are happening, I think we have long way to go. And in fact, some of the directors are very, very excellent, and they contribute and add value to the say board and corporate governance framework of that particular company. But some of them are not able to contribute. So who is at fault? I think nomination and remuneration committee, board as a whole is at fault. So what diligence the company should do before selecting independent directors. And I think I say have fixed, and in fact, I give a presentation on this 2 hours presentation. And I generally focus on this particular point that uh, when company is going to do the due diligence, I think first, of course, see the profile of the individual. Secondly, his personal attributes is also very, very important. In fact, I may be saying this thing, but how to say judge the personal attributes unless and until you have the interaction? So can we have the interaction with the, say, incumbent or incoming independent director, or maybe by the nomination and remuneration committee? Answer to this question, yes, why not? That person is going to be on the board for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. So if he is there going to be on the board, why not some interaction should happen? So personal attributes as well as professional attributes. How much time he is going to devote for the company? It is only the, say, attending the meeting, or say just contributing during the meeting with his experience or expertise, or he will do some homework and come prepared in the meeting and give some value addition or input during the meeting and course of discussions also. Whether his expertise is going to fill the gap in my company or not. Say for example, I need a, say, person who is having the financial background like madam, or I need a say person who is having the, say, corporate governance and legal expertise like Mr. Sudhakar. So what is gap? I need to identify the gap within my board, and this gap I need to fill with the, because madam has referred about the diversity. If I talk about the diversity, what is diversity is? It is not only, say, gender diversity, it is all diversity. Executive, technical, professional, independent, women, all kind of board members present together makes it a diversified board. So that is what company is required to think. And this kind of diligence is very, very important. And in fact, individual who is going to be there on the board, he should also think that what value addition I can do, where I am going to be fit in the whole, say, structure of the board. So company side of diligence is also important. Now coming on to the director side of diligence. First question should be coming, and in fact advice to the company secretary, first question coming in your mind should be, can I trust this company? Second question should be coming, can I trust the management of this company or promoters background? Sudhakar ji has mentioned that we need to check. I am going to sit with them, and I am going to devote substantial time of my, say professional career or professional time in this particular discussion and deliberation. Whether I have the confidence in the promoters or existing management of the company or not, their background, their profile. Third one is, am I best suited for this company, or will there be a value addition from my side on the board or governance? And then lastly, fifth point, whether I am willing to take the calculated risk. It may be regulatory, it may be personal, it may be all kind of risk associated with the position. Because nowadays independent directors are also subject to question mark. And if they are subject to question mark, then definitely they will have to be more vigilant and diligent. So this is what diligence is all about. But what I need to know for doing the diligence? First, and in here also I'll throw only 5 points. First point is background about the company and promoters. Third is governance framework of that particular company. Board policies, board conduct, board standards, way to conduct the meetings. So all kind of governance frameworks they have adopted. Efficiency of the board and its functioning. Risk factor associated with that particular company. And lastly, financial position of the company and whether it is solvent company or not. So these are the 5 parameters I can highlight. Of course, I will go to the other panelists also. So why diligence? It should be done both sides and it should be conducted. So now going ahead with the, say, questions, and I will turn to Madhu ma'am first. on this particular point. Ma'am, you have mentioned two things in your opening remarks. One is diversity is there, but this diversity, particularly in case of the women directors, would not have been possible if regulations would not have been there. So, are we still dependent so much on the regulation, or it is going to become the ground reality now that yes, women directors has to be on the board? And connected question that you also mentioned that this regulation can help in the entry, but your own performance and merit is going to prove vital in the long run. So I think both the questions you can answer together, ma'am.
Thank you, Ranjit. Very, very relevant issues. And I will also like to comment later on the 5 points which you have raised based on a particular experience I've had with the company, in terms of joining the company. So, in terms of the entry, let me just go back, and I'm recollecting some studies which have been done both in US, in the Asia Pacific region, wherein, like in an Asia Pacific region, they very specifically said that only about 12 to 15% of the companies, even after the regulatory push, they just have women independent directors after the regulatory push. Similarly, being an academician, when I was reading to some literature, even in the US, they talk about not completely having representation of women independent directors. So my take on the first part here, Ranjit ji, would be, let us have this regulation for a little more time to get well represented, maybe 10 years down the line, and then you can make it more neutral. Because as of now, it does need a little push. But honestly, the survival part will ultimately depend on your merit. And as you have also very rightly said, diversity, which is also a SEBI regulation, is not only in terms of gender, it's in terms of, all the parameters as have been listed. Let me also, quote a little here from a few studies which have happened again. And in fact, like I also had 2 or 3 scholars who did this study about, does or would having women on board improve performance? Would it result in the financial performance going up? The results here are again mixed. So, but most of the results say that having women on board will not necessarily result in improving the performance of the company. Improving the financial performance is based on a lot of other factors, and just having a woman on board will definitely not. Coming to the collaborative decision part, yes, and I did hint a little, it's ensuring.
Ma'am, just a small intervention. When I'm talking about the collaboration, I think collaboration will not happen without the board secretary and board. So I would say like that you should throw some light that how company secretary, being a board secretary, collaborating with the board and independent director as a whole, and how crucial their role is in regard to the, say, effective functioning of the board.
So you're talking of the role of company
Yes, ma'am.
secretary in
That
collaboration.
point also should be added here.
Let me say that, the typical, let me be honest here again, the typical company secretary role, which I have seen in a few companies, is more in fulfilling the regulatory requirement. The interaction with the board and the independent directors has more got to do with when are the meetings scheduled, are you free, when can we do that? And since you have raised this issue of company secretary, let me tell you that I don't know again if it's good to be honest always, But the answer to your question would also hint a lot at what should I say, branding and marketing. As of now, the collaborative part is still not there, though, you know, in a lot of companies, or in at least a few companies, the company secretaries have moved up to the managing director role. But I think you still need to do, I don't know whether that answers your question or not, but they still need to move up to the, what should I say, you know, a little
Decision-making.
more in terms of the decision
Leadership
making
role,
role.
decision making.
See, the point is, they were earlier doing more a map role, if I would use a word. The map role was more a short term role, which was a traditional role. Now, you have to ensure that they adapt to the newer ways of thinking and go on to what we typically call a compass role, which is a modern way of, you know, looking at the role. So maybe
Yes, ma'am.
that should answer.
Now, moving to the, say, Sudhakar ji, our next panelist. Again, since this particular theme of the discussion is CS as independent director, so I think advice from your side is very, very essential. What would be your advice for the company secretary who have just entered the boardroom, who aspire to sit across the table with their counterpart in the board meeting, and just want to bring some agenda of good governance into the table? So how they should conduct at initial stage of their, say, uh, role with the board, and how they gradually become the, say, more competent and, say, efficient professional as far as board governance is concerned, not only as a company secretary in the board secretary, also as an independent director, on elevating themselves to the, say, audit committee chairman, or maybe managing director, or maybe even chairman to the board.
In fact, this question is very close to my heart. And fortunately, I have been given this question. Because according to me, the efficiency of any director, rather the efficiency of the board, depends upon the company secretary. Because the company secretary is the person who advises the board, who advises the chairman, and in particular, he advises the independent directors. That's why whenever I go as a faculty in IOD, I always tell the participants there, please treat the company secretary of your company. He is your charioteer. The way Lord Krishna has played the role of a charioteer for Arjuna, if you treat yourself as the corporate Arjunas, the company secretary is going to be the charioteer. And he is the person who will navigate you through the boardroom struggles, whatever you are going to face, the way Lord Krishna has navigated Arjuna through the struggles of Kurukshetra war. But when I have elevated the role of a company secretary to the charioteer like Lord Krishna of Mahabharata, it depends our responsibility also. Are we really equipped with that kind of knowledge? And according to me, it is not the competence, but the conduct and character of the company secretary is also equally important. You should be bold enough. You might be having the knowledge, but you should be able to present that particular knowledge in a right. You have to channelize that knowledge, whatever you have, in a proper way. By merely having a knowledge is not sufficient. You should be able to articulate. In fact, several company secretaries, having excellent and superior knowledge, failed miserably in the boardrooms because they are not able to present themselves. In fact, when I was there in the vision committee of ICSI, I was privileged to do that. That point of time, I said that we need to we need to impart the training aspects to our company secretaries for presentation abilities, articulation abilities, which are very, very important. Communication is very important. In fact, when I was a student of company secretaries, we used to have a business communication paper. That is very, very important. Second question comes is that, in fact, that Tulsidas Doha is there, that wherein he said that the guru, doctor, and the secretary, these are the three people. If they speak dear to the king, that is the board we can say, or the director or the management, because of your fear, because of your greed, because of any other compulsion, then obviously what happened is that company will never be able to progress. If the good boards have to become great boards, it is the company secretary and the entire fulcrum goes around him only. He should be able to disseminate the information to the directors well in time. He should not overload the directors with the information. He should understand that what kind of information the directors require. And similarly, what kind of training the directors require, what kind of skill sets the directors require, because even under the listing regulations also, it is equally important to identify the skill sets required by the board, to publish it in the annual reports, and to map which director is going to meet that skill sets. So the efficiency of the company secretary depends that, in fact, the way he deals with the stakeholders, the company secretary to a large extent is the person who deals with the stakeholders also, and it is his efficiency also depends upon the way he enhances the image of the company also. If any counter question is there,
I will request Madam to supplement a bit on this particular point.
You know, I would say, and adding on to what Sudhakar ji has also said, yes, there is a lot of information and regulatory perspective which the company secretaries have. But keeping in view the kind of events which have happened in the last one and a half year, you know, you need to ensure, and more in the kind of role which a company secretary is, they are most of the time prepared to deal with business as usual. But what happens if certain unplanned events occur? You know, like a black swan event, as we call the current pandemic. Now, there is a plan A which I have if things were to go wrong. But what is that plan B and what is that plan C which we have if unplanned events happen? So, the business as usual and business not as usual is something which the company secretaries need to think about. And one more perspective, let me add, you know, is a what if scenario. You know, this is something which we have been telling our management graduates also. And this is something we as leaders also need to imbibe. And I would say there is a no QED in today's scenario. So like you're talking of a theorem, it's not the end. So you always have to think of multiple scenarios. And that is what will ensure the sustainability and the long run visibility of the organization you are in.
Thank you, ma'am. Now moving to Mr. Dilip, and in fact, he himself suggested that I should be asked this question. So, Dilip ji, technology. Again, I'm coming on to the technology part, and you yourself said that technology for future independent director. So, my question is that whether relying merely on the technology will be sufficient for the independent director, how significant the technology will be. It can be a tool, but it cannot be the, say, everything. It should be used as a tool only. So, question 2 is that how balancing the independent director should do in regard to technology vis-a-vis their own skills and their own, say, knowledge and homework they should do before any board meeting. You are on mute. Just unmute yourself then.
Mr. Ranjit, I don't recall asking you to ask me this question, but very good question, sir. Very useful. In terms of, there is no way technology by itself is sufficient. There is technology is an enabler, but a good enabler. I mean, in terms of whether agenda availability, for example, I gave an example where agenda is made available, last minute updates are made available with great ease. So this information sharing makes it very easy to collaborate, to be ready, to prepare for the meetings. Even past archive, for example, one can access if required. And so, for example, a new independent director can insist on access to archive, where they can catch up on the previous decisions and agendas and resolutions to really understand what has gone on. And in fact, we have seen a lot of companies have built such archives now, and they do provide such archives to their new independent directors as well, so that they can get this. And The company secretary, as an independent director, certainly would understand a whole lot more than any other function, to my understanding, whatever we have observed as far as governance is concerned. And of course, business strategy aspects depends on the specific domain required in that industry. But the short answer is technology is only an enabler. By no means it can be a solution by itself, but it's a very, very good enabler, very effective enabler. Uh,
Yes, carry on, Mr. Dilip.
so, sir, my view is that the technology by itself is not sufficient. It is an enabler. It can be a very good enabler, but by itself, the wisdom of independent director has to be some, as we discussed, company secretary would make a very good independent director, because of it is imbibed in them. The governance matters are really a part of them.
Okay.
And for any other functional person, that's not so natural as far as governance
ठीक.
is concerned.
Perfect,
So, but technology by itself will not be sufficient.
sir. Now, I think two quick question and then I will come to you from both the panelists. So, Sudhakar ji, many of the traditionally run corporate houses find appointment of the company secretary still burdensome and unnecessary. What would be your advice to such corporates? I will not say, since it's a corporate company secretary conclave. So to the corporates, not to the company secretary. We know that our company secretary having the worth and they contribute a lot to the say organization. So what is the piece of advice to the corporate for appointment of company secretary? Not only as a company secretary, but as an independent director also. Of course, you have answered partially to this question that yes, companies, how company secretary can contribute, particularly on a legal side of the say independent director role. How do the independent director on the board, connected question, add value to the governance? And simply, I am saying that governance is one of the most important thing for the say board to perform governance role. And company secretary being governance professional, they are very, very suitable for this particular job. So very quick answer to this question.
I think Ranjit is acting like Arnab Goswami today. Arnab Goswami asked the question and asked the panelist, to give the reply in 2 seconds. Anyway, that is on the lighter side. But whenever I have to give advice to the corporate, it's just like when we have to advise the doctor how to treat the patient, we have to tell the patient also how to explain his problem to the doctor. Similarly, here also for the last 35 years, I am grappling with this question that corporates are taking the company secretaries as burdensome. This is, according to me, I don't agree with this particular perception what we have. In fact, the company secretary profession in the last 50 years, we came a long way. I always say this particular thing that the problem with company secretaries is that we always compare ourselves with chartered accountants and we treat that ourselves as the second class citizens or something like that. We have that inferiority complex. Despite the fact I am a chartered accountant, I always take pride that I am a company secretary, and this was there right from my formative years. My success, my image, my reputation, whatever is there in the professional circles is because of this only. Why I'm saying this thing is from my formative years, 1 or 2 times in a closely held group of companies, I have taken 1 or 2 stands. Because of that, my office has been called as secretary's office. At that point of time, I was having hardly 2-3 years of experience only. Despite that, my office, the way there used to be two offices there, like chairman's office and secretary's office. It unfortunately or fortunately, our profession is more personal driven. It is not a profession driven thing. So it depends upon the person, the company secretary, how he is conducting himself. You have to establish yourself not only in the company but in the society as such. Wherever you go, you should say that what is a company secretary. Say, for example, I am privileged, again, ICSI has given me a lot of opportunities to interact with some universities. Wherever I got the scope, at least for 2 minutes, I will speak about the company secretary profession, because this is the only profession which will give you access to the boardroom from day one. No other profession can give this kind of an opportunity. It is up to us how we will be encashing that. You are dealing with the chairmen, you are dealing with the directors, you are dealing with the senior management. So it depends upon the person whether I am useful or I am only for the sake of compliance you have appointed me. In that first impression itself, if we are able to establish ourselves, a corporate will never take ourselves as a burden. Fortunately, Companies Act 2013, Listing Regulations 2015 has given the enhanced image to our profession. According to me, if anybody can ensure the compliance culture in the organizations, it is the company secretary only. I always tell that the directors and prospective directors, wherever you join, first of all, call the company secretary and ensure that he is a fit person to be. If he is not a fit person, ensure that a fit person is there, because your safety is depending upon the company secretary. If I am going to a company as the independent director, my insurance cover is not the D&O policy, but the efficiency of the company secretary. If that person is not efficient enough, I should not hesitate to tell the management, first of all, get an efficient company secretary with an appropriate salary also. It is not like that I need, wherever I'm going, if at all I go in future as a director, I am going to see who is the company secretary, what is his position in the hierarchy where he is, how much is being paid. Because whether you like it or not, if you pay peanuts, people say that you will get monkeys. If you don't even pay peanuts, you will get donkeys. So obviously, I have to ensure all these things. Now come to the question of governance. Again, governance is a perception. Compliance is not governance. Compliance is only a part of governance. Governance goes much beyond. So if I talk about governance, it will take hours together. But only thing I will say is, if anybody can ensure governance in a corporate, it is the company secretary. I always say that one thing, institute, according to me, is doing its best. I mean it. I am not saying because I am sitting on the ICSI, what's called platform, but right from my student days and as a budding professional, as a senior professional, I always say that ICSI is always doing the best. It is up to us as professionals how much we are able to receive, how much we are able to digest, and how much we are able to exhibit and establish. Thank you.
Now I think we are end. I think Manishji 5 minutes more we will take because we need to ask some questions and take some questions from the delegates. So Agrawal साहब बहुत देर से क्वेश्चन पूछना चाहते हैं अपना. So first I will take up your question, PP Agrawal ji. So just let me know first that whom you are going to address. अच्छा किसी से ओके नहीं पैनलिस्ट आप रेफर भी कर सकते हैं आपकी चॉइस है
नहीं आई डोंट हैव अ क्वेश्चन मैं सिर्फ सुधाकर जी ने जो कहा कि भाई हमें खुद को पावरफुल बनाना पड़ेगा मैं एक ही पॉइंट कह रहा हूं इसमें कि हमें फियरलेस बनना पड़ेगा फेवरलेस बनना पड़ेगा तो सारी पावर मेरे में आ जाएगी और इंडिपेंडेंट नहीं होंगे तो हम इंडिपेंडेंट डायरेक्टर को कभी सपोर्ट नहीं कर पाएंगे वी हैव टू बी इंडिपेंडेंट
सत्यम बद धर्मम चरा
बस थैंक यू आपने बोल दी बाकी बातें
क्वेश्चन यस
क्वेश्चन नहीं है कोई भी क्योंकि सुधाकर जी जिस लहजे से बोलते हैं उसके बाद क्वेश्चन नहीं रह जाता
माइक देना कोई वहां पे गणेश
Hi, good morning. This question may be answered by any of the panelists. My name is Suresh Menon. I've got over 3 decades of experience as a company secretary and corporate legal aid. Suppose the situation arises to independent directors. He's got a query which he is not able to understand or probably not, he's a little confused in the board meeting. Should the independent directors speak that to a company secretary for clarification, or should the independent directors speak to the management for clarification? As a professional, how would you take it? The independent director is not a company secretary or a CA qualified, he's a technically qualified person.
No, I mean, a straight answer for that would be it will be good if the independent directors speak to the management because they have a holistic perspective of what is coming and what is the background of the decision. The company secretary may or may not be completely comfortable with the kind of issue which has been raised, if I've understood your question.
Exactly.
I think I'll add two things.
Just to add on something basically. If,
Yes.
the independent director seek the information from the company secretary itself, what should be his answers, whether he should discuss directly with the independent director or in consultation with the management?
I think I will take up this, ma'am. Actually, your question is say relevant to the role of the company secretary, and in fact, it is assigned and very well written in the secretarial standard also. If I'll go and quote to the secretarial standard, one of the point that summoning and convening of meeting. It is very clearly mentioned in the secretarial standard the process under which, if say some director or maybe independent director or maybe any other director, if he directly goes to company secretary and asks that you call the meeting, so how he will conduct himself, that is written in the secretarial standard, and his conduct is very clear that he will approach to the chairman first. He will, 1 minute, I'm coming to that point. He will approach to the chairman first and then seek the guidance from the chairman. If chairman is okay that yes, you call, or say for example your question calling for the information. See, he is the repository of the information. Definitely, he has all the information available. But is company secretary is empowered or entitled to share the information without the knowledge of the management, or maybe without taking management into the confidence? Answer is no. Big no. Because he will have to take the management into the confidence, maybe managing director, CEO, or maybe chairman. Because even board member is asking for the information, he will have to take the person into confidence. Madam rightly suggested that right course of action for the director concerned should be to consult the management, and then if say follow on question and follow on answer, management is got convinced that this information should be given to the say director concerned, then follow on question, follow on clarification, or say discussion can be done by the company secretary. So as initially we have discussed about the participative collaboration, it is participative say efforts to say resolve the query and concern of the board member concerned. So role of the company secretary is like that he is pivotal and he is the key person as far as information and say supplying of the information is concerned, but he cannot and should not say go beyond and taking the management into confidence.
No, Ranjit, I fully, your answer is well taken. But this is a experience which I'm handling. I'm speaking from my experience. There have been many occasions where independent directors, especially from the private and also from the private equity players, have been seeking information directly from the company secretaries. Of course, the secretaries always used to kind of inform, subject to the management concurrence also. We used to say that. But it has been very frequent that independent directors do check with the company secretaries also. And my last company also, I've had people, independent directors from a Tata Chemicals background, used to ask kind of seek the information because they were not comfortable with the answers given at the board.
See,
Mr. Ranjit, can I add one?
yes,
small
please.
point there?
Yes.
In our observation, when agenda, for example, for a board meeting is distributed, and invariably the queries come to company secretary, where there is an option to share comments, for collaboration, easy collaboration. directors may write some clarification required on that document itself, and then typically it is shared with the company secretary, who in turn, I don't know whether they discuss it internally, but they become the conduit for that information. That's what we have observed quite a bit actually in practical.
मिनन सर, आई थिंक आपकी बात से क्लू लेते हुए मैं एक ना पीस ऑफ एडवाइस देना चाहूँगा सारे कंपनी सेक्रेटरीज को. रादर इनफैक्ट वी आर फॉलोइंग एंड एवरी कंपनी सेक्रेटरी शुड फॉलो दिस. We have seen the litigations also. You mentioned about the institutional director, investor director, and they are putting the query to the company secretary. We have seen in the, say, board of disciplinary committee also, that once information is being asked by the director concerned, it has been supplied, and then another part of the management comes and file the disciplinary case against the member. So this also happens. So why I was insisting upon the taking the management or chairman into the confidence, because of this reason. I am not saying that he should not supply the information. He will have to supply the information. His role, and in fact, secretarial standard says that if chairman is not agreeing, he will mark the CC to the director and send the mail to the chairman that this particular gentleman has asked for this thing. Please give advice. So he will create the record also. So as a company secretary, we need to play strategically, we need to play smartly when we are thinking that some, say, division is there in the, say, group, and management is reluctant to the provide the information and director is asking directly to me. So I think balancing, you are experienced professional, you know how to do the balancing. So that balancing we will have to do. One last question from back. आप जोर से बोल दीजिए. थोड़ा सा आगे आ जाइए ना. गणेश माइक दे दो यार फटाफट भाग के. तो दिलीप जी आपके लिए क्वेश्चन है.
बोलिए सर.
Now we are moving toward digitalization. So moving toward digitalization create a major concern regarding data. So now government also very stringent for data localization. So how we can store data, whether it should be stored in India or maybe outside India?
Got
And
your
one
question.
more thing, how digitalization would be beneficial to our senior member?
Okay. So I think I will
Thanks.
request Dileep ji first to answer, and then
Sure.
Sudhakar ji can add on the beneficial parts of it. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. Yes, the data, often that requirement comes up where the data has to be stored in India. And for example, in the offering we provide, it is always the choice of the company whether they want to keep everything on their premises or on cloud. That cloud can be private cloud, which is under their control, or it can be global. So then there is no control where it resides. So wherever there is a need to keep data internally, it can be kept on premise of the company or on their private cloud, which is hosted within India. So that is entirely possible and is required in many cases. And sir, the second question was how easy. Obviously these tools have to be very easy because a lot of directors are senior and they are very good in their fields, but they would want any kind of technology to be very easy to use.
Sudhakar ji, you want to add something?
I see that one thing is that in the director's responsibility statement, as we all are aware, the directors have to give an affirmation that the company has complied with all the applicable laws. This you cannot do it manually, so we definitely need to have a strong and robust portal for ensuring this thing. In addition to that, whenever you are circulating any documents by way of in a physical mode, there is always a possibility of leakage of information. That's why most of the large companies, they have switched over to the digital mode, not only of conducting the board meetings and all, but even providing the agenda and all other backup documents also. There are several platforms are available for this particular thing. So in this, what will happen is you will give the login ID and password to the director concerned, and the repository of information is there. Wherever he wants to go, he can do it. And this information, if you want to have the security controls, you can have that thing. You cannot copy, he cannot forward, he cannot download, he can only see that. It depends upon the kind of rights what you want to give it to the director concerned. The final thing what I would like to say as far as this digitization is concerned, in the coming years, definitely it is the responsibility. The company secretaries may not be able to prepare these agendas and all those things. And because what happens is several times it is the cut paste technology only, most of the departmental colleagues use that. To avoid this particular thing, what we can do is we can put the information in a repository mode, and it can be, the artificial intelligence can be used so that whenever you want to prepare the agenda, almost 50 to 60% of the board meeting agendas is only the routine information which it can always pick up. And similarly, remaining 40% of the agenda also, the moment you give that particular corporate action, it will pick up that information, that the draft or the templates, and then you can do the human intervention will be hardly 10 to 15%. And same is the case with the minutes also. Most of the large corporates, including ours, these days we are working on this particular, mode only. Only thing is, if you are small in size, you have to depending upon outsourcing. If you are large enough, you can do in-house also. Thank you.
I think there are two hands raising, but I think we need to close the session. We are already late. So, quick question.
Yes.
Huh.
Thank you, sir. So maybe a question to Mr. Dilip sir, whether this particular software, that is DESS, that can be used for any non-meeting documents or something like, to take approvals through this software. And another is very quickly to either Madhu ma'am or Sudhakar sir, whether when it comes to women director, appointment of women director on board, it is expected that she should act with integrity and governance. But when it comes to family-owned company where women director appointment is mandatory, as a company secretary, how we are going to ensure that a woman will act with same integrity? Because if it is a family company, we all know how it works. So that could be answer.
Dilip ji, first you, and then Madam may answer.
Yeah, thanks for that question. So certainly these tools can be used for, in fact, in many companies. Company secretary has taken the lead for board and board committees, but then subsequently it has been extended to many other departments. So this can be easily extended. It has a built-in access control so that it is only those who are members of those other committees or departments would get those documents, and then definitely documents can flow
I
easily
think
from
pointed
department.
question, Dilip ji, is whether approval process can be conducted or not.
Absolutely.
So all
absolutely.
kind of
So-
approvals can be taken through the software or not.
Absolutely. In fact, totally approvals can be done online, and even the identity can be established
Yes.
through username, password. So that is being done very
Okay.
regularly now, where
Thank you.
approvals are done purely online.
Yes, ma'am. I think some part of the question is
Yeah,
to you also.
I would say that yes, I am on 2 family companies, but I think it's also about survival and sustainability. So the women there also, who are a part of the management, they ensure that the ethics and integrity, as far as possible, is maintained. I mean, that would be my only. What goes behind the closed doors, one would not know. But I think it's important for sustainability. Otherwise, they would not sustain the long run. But thank you.
Yes, Ashish. Quick.
There was it was a news on the front page in Economic Times in Mumbai. Ex-chairman of a bank, he was appointed as independent director of one of the ARC, and because of some account, I think he got prosecuted by a Rajasthan CMM court, and he was actually taken into the custody. So I would want to know from Mr. Sudhakar specifically and Dr.
Yeah, I
Vij,
will also-
what are the mitigation strategies independent
Got it.
director?
Got it.
Independent
Got
director
the
should-
question.
yeah.
I think quick answer. Ekdam do
See,
line, teen
I
line
want to
bas.
give you only one mantra if you want to insulate yourself with all this kind of nonsense. learn to say no. That is the only thing we don't know. If you are as an independent director, if you want to insulate yourself, learn to say no. And similarly, don't hesitate to ask hard questions. If you can adopt these through methodologies, you are safe. Secondly, as far as the risk mitigation measure is concerned, you need to understand the risk first. Then you can mitigate it. In fact, when I go as a faculty to IOD, people ask me this question only, that you are scaring us. That means we should not accept the position. I said, look, I am not saying that. When you are going to take a deep dive, you should know the depth of the swimming pool. Then only you can take the dive accordingly. If you think that if I am telling you the hard realities of the legal position, if you are scared, then don't accept the directorship.
I think Madam will
Yeah.
add one.
No, this is a question which concerns us, and let me tell you, it's not an easy answer, because I wanted to say that, lack of time, I did not. What happens when the company wherein you are an independent director goes into liquidation? We are talking of all good things. And that is a fact. And let me tell you, I am on one of the companies which is going into liquidation. Life is not rosy. ये जो सब theoretical बातें हैं ना, ये academicians के लिए भी हैं. Yes, you all are practical, and I don't care if we overshoot by 5 minutes for a change, Ranjit ji. ये बहुत important. I mean, what you are saying, nobody can visualize what you are saying. And the whole family goes in for a toss, apart from that concerned person. All this is theory. Like, I'll tell you, I mean, when I have joined companies, it's only on the basis of I know X and Y. And even then, this one company was a cash-rich company. It was doing so well. Up sub-criteria you have laid down. What happens if there is a scenario like, like the global financial crisis or a pandemic? What happens? The best of industries can go down. And if you looked at, I mean, you are a part of the insolvency professional. Out of the 12 companies, 8 were from steel sector. The sector was going through issues. You have done all due diligence, you have done all corporate governance, you have done everything. Even then the company has gone down. And for this particular company, I was there only for 1 year. Only for 1 year. But all the decisions which were taken earlier and even now, you are responsible. You are responsible. And you have to prove your innocence. And let me also tell you, it's not easy when a court order comes to your house. It's not easy. And I was talking to one of my, I will not repeat what he told me in Hindi, but he was an independent director in many companies and very senior person. And I asked him, he says, I've stopped this business. He said it in Hindi. So, what I'm telling you is, it's the reality, the ground reality is very different. So, I think there is a luck element. And because of this experience, I've got out of 2-3 companies. You've got out. You just say, and a lot of people are getting out of companies. It's not, even if they don't catch hold of you. But still, there is a process, because I don't know, Ranjit ji is an insolvency professional. I can talk to him later. But for all the companies who have had an insolvent professional, none of the cases have got solved till now. That's also a fact. And there are many reasons.
So many resolutions. Ma'am, so many resolutions has happened.
I know. I'm not saying that.
I think we will close now. Ashish, we'll close now.
We'll close. So I'll tell you, it's about, and Ranjit ji is also, and I am taking the liberty of talking. There is a project which also I've done on the role of risk managers for CFO and auditors. And Ranjit ji has also filled my question. There are some good results from that. And I think this is a lot ongoing discussion, but yes, you just need to be careful and believe in destiny also.
Thank you so much. We are closing the session now. No, thank you. We are already overshot by 20-25 minutes. ओवर टू पूजा नाउ. बात अलग से डिस्कस कर लेंगे आपके साथ. थैंक यू.
Thank you, sir. Well, the achievement of a discussion lies in the richness that it adds to your existing knowledge base and what you take back home as food for thought. This session and this discussion did just that. Thank you so much. So before we bring this session to an end, we have a moment of congratulation and celebration in order. The ICSI conducts a host of PMQ courses in internal audit, corporate governance, and arbitration for the capacity building and continuous professional development of its members. It gives us immense pleasure to congratulate our members when they accomplish such courses. I would now request CS Nagendra D. Rao, President ICSI, and CS Manish Gupta, Chairman PMQ Course Committee, to please come on stage. And I would request CSYS Arun to please be on stage to receive the certificate on Diploma in Arbitration. And I would request our guests to please join them. I would now request the President ICSI, CS Ranjit Pandey, and CS Manish Gupta to present the Shaheed Ki Beti certificate to our guests. CS Sudhakar. Dr. Madhu Vij. While we'll be sharing the certificate of Mr. Dilip with him soon, I would request that the same may be please displayed.